Joker is the new film from Warner Brothers and DC Comics, taking place outside of the DCEU and being more of an Elseworlds or Black Label movie that stands on its own. It sees Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, a very troubled man who aspires to be not just a comedian but also be loved, living in the grimy 1970s Gotham City, which is full of crime and on the verge of chaos thanks to tensions between the poor and the rich. After a series of unfortunate events, Arthur falls all the way off the edge and the Joker is born. To say the Joker is an original film is completely wrong, which is why I'm surprised at the amount of people who are actually saying that. It's basically a King of Comedy remake, although I wouldn't really call it a remake, more of a copy, with a little bit of Taxi Driver thrown in there because of course you have to have Taxi Driver thrown in. It follows a lot of the same beats as those films, which coincidentally also star Robert De Niro. The problem is that, as people like Red Letter Media have touched on in their recent review, it's all underwritten and surface level stuff, with very cliche crazy guy falling into tropes like he lives with his aged mother, he sees a psychiatrist, he gets fired from his job. All these things lead to him going insane. There's one part where Arthur kills some men in the subway, in an act of self-defense I might add, only then to race to a bathroom and do Tai Chi, because he's crazy and people will see that and think he's crazy because of that. That's really surface level stuff, as is his relationship with Zazie Beetz' character Sophie Dumont, who immediately when I saw her I knew she wasn't going to be real, she was going to be a figment of Arthur's imagination. I really wish they actually did a little bit more with that, since she's barely in the film and she's in there for a handful of scenes, but nothing really happens with that, in my opinion. In my mind, it should have been his mother had been dead for years and he still thinks he's looking after her, and that's what kind of drives him. And then you could play up the parallels between Arthur and other movie villains like Norman Bates. But also to do that, you need Arthur to be a functioning human being, and he absolutely is not in this film. Again, because he's underwritten and he's the cliched film world view of a crazy person. There is also the fact that this film is called Joker, and that's basically just for the branding name. It has really nothing to do with the comics at all, besides every now and then you'll see a Gotham City sign, or Thomas Wayne will appear, or Bruce Wayne or Alfred will appear, for no real reason whatsoever besides those characters are tied with this character in the comics. And he's only using the name Joker because it sells movies and stuff, and that's what this is doing. There is some good stuff in the film, however. I really enjoyed the scenes where he learns not only is he adopted, but also his mother allowed her husbands and boyfriends over the years to abuse Arthur. It was a pretty great moment that he came to that realization, and what Phoenix did in that scene was really wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I also really liked the scene where he kills one of his fellow clowns, which was funny in the fact that the dwarf that came with him tries to get out of the apartment and can't, and at least this kind of funny yet haunting scene of Arthur going to help him open the door so he can escape is very creepy. The movie looks great as well, which surprised me since Todd Phillips used the DOP Lawrence Sher, which he uses on many of his films like The Hangover, and he's done stuff like The Dictator and stuff you wouldn't normally associate with grimy 1970s New York, so that was really great. I really enjoyed the look of the film. I do also think though it was a little long in that it should have ended before it did. Instead of the very strange Benny Hill the end tagline at the end in Arkham, I wish it kind of ended after he killed De Niro's talk show host character and just stares down the barrel of the camera, because that kind of sells the point. It's like, oh, this is when the Joker was born, right here on TV. That would have been really cool. Joker has its moments, but it largely comes off as an edgy teen's underwritten surface level attempt to recreate what made films like King of Comedy and Taxi Driver so good and engaging. Not really understanding what makes Joker an interesting character. You'd probably be better checking out King of Comedy and Taxi Driver over this to see how it's really done. I am going to give Joker a 5 out of 10.